So this is the Canon YJ19x9 b4 lens. So first I'm going to show you visually different parts of the lens. But if you'd like to skip directly to the test footage, you can go to the timestamp down below. The Canon YJ series of lenses are Canon's lower budget, lower build quality, more affordable range of lenses in b4 range. And YJ also designates that the lens is standard definition. So this Canon YJ19x9 is in particularly good condition optically, and the body is in very good condition. So the YJ lenses being designed at a lower price point means that they have a lot more plastic in the body of the lens, and the mechanisms of the lens feel a little less damped and a little less higher quality compared to your J series SD lens, and then further HJ and CJ lenses definitely have an even higher build quality. I noticed particularly when using the YJ series of lenses that the macro ring, the iris ring and the zoom ring and the back focus adjustment knob all feel kind of cheap and plasticky. Not terrible quality, I'm sure they will be durable, but compared to a J series lens where those parts are metal, just feels that little bit lower quality, which is reasonable considering the cheaper price point of a YJ lens. On the topic of servo zoom, you'll notice this YJ lens does not have a adjustment speed control for the servo zoom, and it also has a much slower servo motor, so the zoom is a lot slower. It can still go very slow and at a medium speed, like it does have very nice granular changes to the zoom rocker speed, but just to note, compared to a J series lens, the maximum zoom in and out speed is much slower. So if you're looking to punch in really fast and then pull back out really fast, the YJ is noticeably slower. The overall build quality and feel of a YJ lens is less than the quality of a J series lens, but I'd say it's probably 70% of the way there to a J series lens for a fraction of the price of a J series lens. Just to also note, the Canon KJ series of lenses is like the HD version of the YJ lenses. They have better capabilities than the YJ lenses, being far more modern, and they're HD rated. But if you're looking at HJ lenses and some KJs come up, the KJs are a more affordable, lower cost version of HJs, just like the YJs are the more affordable, lower cost version of the J series lenses. Here we can see the size comparison compared to a YJ lens next to a J series lens with a doubler, and then a HJ Cine lens, which is quite a large lens, but just to show you the range of scale between the three lenses. The YJ is by far the smallest and the lightest out of the three, which makes sense. It also has the smallest lens body in diameter. It would also be perfect for someone who's on quite a tight budget, as these are typically a lot cheaper than a J series or a HJ series lens, and you can pick up some YJ lenses for a nice price on the second-hand market. You sacrifice a little bit of image quality if you choose to go a YJ over a J series lens from my testing, but it's really not too bad if you're shooting in sort of the f2.8 to f10 range. The YJ lenses perform really well. Not so well wide open, whereas a J series lens is noticeably a bit better wide open. Not perfect by any means, but a little bit better. So I hope that gave you some information of how YJ lens fits in with the Canon line and what sort of build quality to expect if you've never used one before. all the test footage you're about to see with the YJ19x9 lens was adapted to my FS7 with a B-cam B4 to E-mount adapter that I make. I use the Blackmagic B4 broadcast optical mount and convert it to mirrorless mounts, so you can use B4 lenses on Canon RF, Sony E, Micro Four Thirds, and other mirrorless mounts. So I make and sell the adapted part of this and put them together and sell them in batches. So if you're interested in getting one, you can get in contact with me. If you want to know the specifics of how this test footage was captured, pause now and read all the data on the screen. That'll give you an idea of how I went about capturing it. So going into the lens test now, this is not like a scientific lens test. This is just some real world footage that I captured over, I think, 2 weeks of carrying the camera and lens around. And it's just to show what's possible with the lens when it's optically corrected on a single chip camera. Obviously you'd get pretty similar results to this on a native B4 camera. As you're watching the rest of the video, keep in mind that the rest of the footage shown in this video is taken at different times of the day in different locations. And I also put some notes on screen if I'm doing something a bit strange with the lens to try and get some different types of footage. So this first part of the test is very much on the tele end of the lens, looking at small subjects for fine detail. This is a particularly challenging backlit lighting situation, and most of these shots are shot between f2.8 and f4. And the YJ lens performs really well with the optical correcting adapter at 2.8 to 4. It was surprising how well it performed in these challenging lighting situations. Please excuse the dust on the front lens element. I didn't clean any of the lenses before shooting this test footage over 2 days. This is a bit of an advanced technique. This is balancing the macro switch with the zoom rocker to get a telephoto macro look. Can look quite nice. The shot was at 2.8 iris and nice and sharp. When using the zoom and the macro together and balancing that, the lens is not parfocal during that time until you switch the macro switch off. And this is an example of using the wide angle of the lens with the macro switch. So the front of the lens is physically really close to the B there, about 5 centimeters, and yeah, you can even see it casting a little bit of a shadow at some points when we're doing this. This lens goes to 9mm at the widest, which I'll put the equivalent to on screen now, which is not particularly wide, but that's how it looks. It's still nice and sharp, and using the macro at the wide end of the lens can produce some different results to using the macro while in the middle of the lens or the tele end of the lens.
On another day, I went into the city and captured some extra footage with this YJ19x9 lens and the B-cam optical correcting adapter. Another note, all the footage in this test was taken handheld, so there's a little bit of shake in it, particularly at the telephoto end of these shots. So keep that in mind while watching. More stable shots are definitely achievable if using a tripod or monopod. This is just a lightweight setup that I was carrying around for this footage. Another shooting note is that all these shots you're currently seeing are shot through thick plate glass, and particularly when shooting on an angle through that plate glass, it can add some softness and some aberrations itself. Moving outside now to a park. This is a nice colourful park, so get some nice footage here at golden hour at this park. This is particularly showing some wide angle aspects of the lens, whereas the shots with the plants and bees were focusing more on the close-up tele end of the lens and the macro capabilities. This is sort of more your longer zoom range and further away distant subjects, as well as the wide end of the lens of 9mm. This is definitely more of a typical range that this lens would be used in for documentary and capturing news footage. As you can see, despite the low light and the late golden hour, so losing quite a lot of light now, the lens performs really well.
And then this is some low light test. This is wide open on the lens and high ISO, so this is 6400 ISO, which is quite high for an FS7, and wide open on the lens to capture this night slash blue hour slash early evening look. And you can notice it's a little, and you can notice being wide open that the lens is struggling a little bit. A HJ series lens would be more suitable for this low light use. And finally we have some extra garden shots here, just to show some shots in the shade, as previously they were all heavily backlit. Now we go into the zoom speed test. We're comparing the YJ 19x9 against a Canon J series 21x7.8. And as expected, the YJ19 is slower, being the cheaper lens with slower servo motors. These were both tested at maximum speed. Another important thing is the slow zoom speeds, and you can get nice slow zoom speeds with this 19x9 YJ lens. The YJ19 has that standard IROS connection for power and control of the lens. There is also an extra port on the bottom of the camera, which is a zoom demand controller port, so you can plug in Canon or switchable zoom demand controllers into the bottom there, and you can use that zoom demand to control the zoom speed exactly as you would with the servo grip. Final example of footage is a quickly lit interview type A-roll type lighting setup, so that gives you an idea of how it looks when filming a person. Don't judge me on lighting for this one. It was a very quick and rough setup just to show what it can look like when filming a person in a stage lit interview type thing. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned everything you need to know about the Canon YJ19x9. It's a good lens for people on a budget. If you want to watch more videos, there'll be some links to extra videos there on screen, and I'll see you on the next one.